Walking through Garmin's sleep tracking. It currently exists now on this watch, on the Fenix 7S Pro, but also on other watches in a 3-tier setup. The first one is the sleep score, which is kind of now also the normal sleep widget, basically, or glance, as Garmin calls them. If we click on there, we see that my sleep quality this night was fair, and I had a sleep score of 67. Now we also see the different stages of sleep, and it also gives us a short summary, shorter than ideal, not enough REM. Then if we go into the detail, we find out that there are these different colors: awake, REM, light, deep, and then we see that I slept from approximately half to 11 p.m. to about 6 in the morning, and here you can see the different sleep stages. And that's mostly about it, apart from this screen, which then gives you a summary with all the different durations, and also we have the sleep stages over the last week. Now that's mostly about it, apart from the sleep score, which seems to be to a certain extent improving. And the sleep score is just kind of a summary in order for you to not have to understand all the different sleep stages, but to have a single score which you can optimize for. That's the normal sleep glance on Garmin. You find also a corresponding thing in Garmin Connect, which is the app Garmin has. Now, fairly recently, Garmin also launched the Sleep Coach, and I don't know if this is already available in normal Garmin watches or if this is just available on my watch, because I enrolled it in the beta program. Now the Sleep Coach for me gives me an average sleep duration of 8 hours, and then it factors in a few things, which in my case mostly naps. Now the Sleep Coach, as I started this day, for example, recommended again 8 hours. It seems to start out with 8 hours again and again and again. And then the 8 hours are here, and the duration, which is subtracted, in my case 50 minutes, is made up due to a few factors. You need less sleep today, it says. Now, why do I need less sleep today? And here we find the different sleep factors. The first thing is the sleep history, and it says that it is poor. So basically, if I had a better sleep history, it would recommend less sleep, probably, or just again the 8 hours. Then we also find the training load, and we also find the naps. These are the 3 different factors which you now also can find in the Garmin Connect app, but again, I don't know if this is already available in the normal software, or only because I have because I'm enrolled in the beta program. Now, we can also click on these and expand these, basically. So if we go on the poor sleep history, it shows me the different sleep stages, and this is mostly about it, so there is not anything more. But it also gives me a summary. You have had a pattern of short sleep recently that's increasing your sleep need. Prioritize relaxing before bed and going to bed early enough to meet your sleep need. Now you might say this is just something random and something that's maybe very general and so on and so forth, but because Garmin kind of knows all the different things of me or of you, of the user, it seems that increasingly these kind of short little tips can actually impact at least my behavior. Now, if we go back, we then see the sleep stages, and then we click on the next factor, which contributed to the, in this case, deducted sleep time. Now, the second factor which we take a look on is the acute load. Now, Garmin users, or people who have used Garmin a lot or already, will know this, but this is basically just how much your activity is overall. It would be maybe a nice thing, or maybe a good summary. It says here, the information you have been training actively over the last few weeks. Focus on getting enough sleep to maximize your training benefits. Now, in terms of the load, there seems to be an optimal range, and this is usually the optimal zone, and this is the green zone here. And then if you are within this zone, it's optimal, and then usually Garmin also shows the training status as progressing, and then if you are above this zone, it might be overreaching. But it also factors into the training status, other things like your HRV, at least I think so. Now, that's mostly about it. We cannot do more. So it again shows only one screen and then a short summary. If we go into the naps feature, it now shows me all the naps I have recorded during this day. Now, there are three different ways where you can basically, or how you can record naps. The first one is just to manually record everything you see as a nap, even though Garmin might not detect any sleep. Then the second one, and I also can show this to you, but let's just maybe first take a look at this. So you see the different kind of naps I recorded during the day. I try to aim at usually at least a multiple of 10 minutes, because then it is nice and clean, even though the times here are not as nice and clean, even though I try to aim for, in this case, 1950 to 8 p.m. A short nap that allowed me to now record this video without making too many grammatical errors. Now, it says, if you record more than one nap usually, it is kind of the same message, it seems at least. Pay attention to your napping habits, as multiple naps during the day will most likely disturb your sleep rhythm. For other ways to improve your energy levels, try getting more natural light, movement and nourishing food during the day. Andrew Huberman recommends on his sleep toolkit, which is still available on his website, even though it came out maybe 2 years ago now, to at maximum sleep 90 minutes in one batch on a given day, but he also says he naps for 45 minutes usually, or sometimes up until the maximum of 45 minutes. At least that's what his sleep toolkit page still says. Now, these are the 3 different factors that contribute to the sleep coach. Now, if we go into naps, then I can show you what actually the recording nap feature looks like, and also what the different options are. So, if you now click here, you have the nap settings, and you can also start a nap. Now, the nap settings, they are basically the sleep mode settings. So these are the same settings. I initially thought that you could also schedule naps, but this seems to be not the case. You can only schedule your sleep, and this is basically the normal sleep that is set within Garmin Connect or also on the watch. Now, you cannot... I mean, it would be nice to set maybe multiple apps during the day and to then have Garmin remind you of these, but seems to be not possible. The watch face you can also set, so you can set your normal watch face or the sleep watch face, but it seems reasonable to show the sleep watch face, as if the sleep watch face is apparent or is shown, it actually shows you the remaining time of your scheduled nap, which we will discuss shortly. Then there is also the display. You can set it to different things, and the display timeout. Then also you can set the nap alarm, which in my case I just set to a vibrational alarm. And then there's also touch, do not disturb, and battery saver as an option. Now, if we now want to start a nap, and it's fairly late, but nevertheless we want to start a nap now, and then we click on start a nap, we already have the settings, and there is not much more in this glance to discuss, so we click on start a nap. Now it says set a nap timer, so we can either now go back or set actually a nap timer, and the standard which it reverts to, no matter how many different times you set, is 20 minutes. So 20 minutes seems also to be the optimal time for a nap, as Garmin probably wants to nudge you towards. Now, what you also can do is you can set, initially I figured you can only set minutes, but that's not true. So if you are now in the minute setting, you can just go back, and then you can, for example, set 1 hour and 30 minutes, which would then be the 90 minutes maximum, which Andrew Huberman recommends, and then you can click here on OK. And then you can set the seconds, but I mean, who sets the seconds on naps? And then it starts tracking. Now, if it starts tracking, what we can see now is that, first of all, it says enjoy your nap, that's very nice, and then it switches into the sleep mode phase. Now, this is the same watch face you also have in sleep mode, so again, the settings of the naps and the sleep settings are kind of identical. Now, what we find here is the remaining time. This only shows the minutes. We also find the date, and we also find this moon here with set, and then set, and then we have basically the time. Now, if the alarm is actually then going off, I can actually maybe show this to you if we now quit the nap. Now, if we quit the nap, it only then shows us the 1 minute. Now, what I should maybe not have done is to actually have the nap now recorded, because now it's in my sleep history, and as of now, there seems to be no way to actually delete one. So if you maybe unintentionally recorded a nap, then it is there, and it also is deducted from your sleep coach. So maybe that's something for Garmin to fix in the future. But now we want to end the nap, and now we go back to my normal watch face. Now, because I started tracking the naps, at least for testing this, and also to see how it impacts my sleep coach. What I have done is I have set this into the glances and into the last ones. So the 3 last ones are my sleep sleep glances basically, so I can switch into these, and I have set this to home screen, and so I can by 2 clicks go, or basically 1 click is the naps, and then 1 click again, and then by 3 clicks I am already within starting the nap, which allows me to then set the nap timer and then set an alarm every time I want to take a nap. And this is usually when I'm beginning to feel kind of sleepy, or my attention or alertness begins to get back. And as Andrew Huberman also, not get back, but get basically below the threshold at which I am able to work properly. So what Andrew Huberman also recently recommended is that in order to keep dopamine basically up, you wanna I'm realizing I'm just filming this watch face now, but if you wanna keep dopamine levels up, you need to kind of replenish them before they actually replenish too much, because then it's much harder to replenish them. So maybe having a nap here and there is not that harmful. Now, I also know the impact kind of because Garmin actually tells me kind of the impact of this. Maybe I sleep a little less during the night, but it's mostly about it, and it allows me to be a little more alert during the day. Now, in terms of what you can do, and I maybe want to switch to a visual for this. Now, there are basically 3 different ways. The first one is that you record manually all the different naps you want to record, even though you are not asleep. The second thing is that you just set a given sleep time. Let's say, okay, I want to sleep maybe 60 minutes at max, and then it records and records and it records, and then you just set, okay, end the nap. And then it would nevertheless record it, and that would be the second option. And the third option would be that you don't actively set or start a timer. So the timer is actually the thing that then wakes you up after the thing. But of course, depending on how long you want to give yourself, you can also set the timer in 15 hours, for example. I don't know. It probably is possible. So, well, this could also be an option. But what I wanted to discuss as the third option is that what you can also do is you can just not record the nap at all, and then Garmin detects them. And if Garmin, okay, if you have in Garmin, let's say I am sleeping from 22, so that's 10 p.m. to 6 in the morning. And if I'm sleeping in this time, and this is also set in Garmin, then outside of this, it seems, at least from my experience, that Garmin now records everything else that is automatically recorded as an app. And that's basically the 3 different things we have in terms of sleep. So that's basically the day sleep, which would be the naps. And also if Garmin automatically detects sleep during the day, which is not your set hours, then it also seems to record them as naps automatically. Then we have the sleep coach, and then also we have the classic sleep thing, which now is called sleep score, even though it is basically the normal sleep glance.